Welcome gamers to another week's vlog. It's been another extremely busy week for me with non-gaming related things to sort out. However, I managed to get a trip down to the coast with the family, and while there, checked out a local CEX, and yes, I got a game pickup which I'll be showing later in the vlog. Also, I got 1 platinum this week. I'd hoped to get 2, but the game in question gave me all sorts of problems, so a little bit more about that in a minute. And of course, this week, another 2 questions from my Discord community. So let's get straight on with it and see the game and platinum that I went for this week. My only platinum this week was for Batman the Telltale series. This episodic point-and-click graphic adventure game based on DC Comics' iconic Caped Crusader Batman was released in 2016 for both the PS3 and PS4. Having already earned the platinum for this game on the PS4 a number of years ago, as well as its great sequel The Enemy Within, I picked up a physical PS3 version of the game some time ago, as I'm an avid collector for PS3 physical games. And as part of my Ultimate Trophy Hunters challenge, I also need to complete 5 different game series, so this provided me with a great opportunity to get a series completion, as I only had 1 game outstanding. Having really enjoyed the game on the PS4, I was looking forward to playing through the game again. However, that feeling was very short-lived when I started playing the PS3 version that suffered heavily from constant frame rate drops and game freezes that required me to have to keep rebooting the PS3 to be able to carry on. The game even failed to continue playing when I was right at the end of the game and only had 2 trophies remaining for the platinum, and no matter how many times I rebooted the console and game, I just kept getting a black screen at a certain point. I was thinking that I may need to borrow the disc from someone else in case it was the actual disc that was faulty, which would have been strange as I bought it new and sealed. But I decided to go back and replay from the beginning of the previous chapter and make different dialogue choices, as when you do that it overwrites the previous save file. Fortunately this worked, and I was able to get past the part that had kept freezing, and although the final parts of the game, and especially the long final QTE boss fight that you have to go through, was extremely janky, I managed to finally get through to the end and earn the platinum. The game itself has a great story that is very faithful for the Batman mythos, but the PS3 version is a very painful and frustrating experience, and I highly recommend you avoid the PS3 version and just play it on the PS4. I think this is a classic example of a game being designed with the new console generation specs in mind, and then due to the customary console crossover period that you always seem to get, the game was rushed out for the previous generation, which then struggled to run it properly. I'm a huge fan of the PS3, and when you consider how much more complex and graphically challenging games like GTA 5 are able to run really smoothly and look totally amazing on the PS3, it shows that a simple point-and-click Telltale game having this many issues means the quality control must have been non-existent and the game was put out as a bit of a cash grab. So, I just want to do a quick recap of the trophies I've earned this week, but before doing that, just wanted to point out that last week's vlog I got the platinum in Quake 2, but I didn't notice until now that actually earned me PSN trophy level 600, which is the first of the gold star tier levels, as you can see above me here. So what it is that PSN has its own trophy leveling system. So effectively there's 3 bronze tiers, 3 silver tiers, 3 gold tiers, and then a platinum tier. And all the trophies you earn have a point value assigned to them. Say for example 15 points for a bronze, 30 points for a silver. And all the trophies you earn give you an accumulative point value, and then as you get more points you go up the tiers, and that was the game that put me into the first tier of gold, which was at 600 points. Now my question to you is, and please let me know in the comments, are you aware of the PSN trophy leveling system? Is this something that you even care about? To me, I sort of was aware of it, but it's not something I really sort of concentrated on or really gave much time for. Now that I'm seeing it as gold and 600, it looks like it's actually something I might track going forward. So please let me know in the comments, what's your feelings on the PSN trophy leveling system? So let's move on with the trophies I've actually earned this week. So starting off the week, I've just been essentially playing the Batman Telltale series. And as you can see, going through the week, doing a bit each day. I've been really busy this week, so I've not had a lot of time to play. I did have one co-op session, however, on Dead Nation Apocalypse on the PS4, and that was with Vidbacker, because the game requires you to have a full game playthrough on co-op, and we decided that as it's both on our backlog that we'll play through together, and we decided we're going to do it on the Grim difficulty, which is the highest difficulty level that you need for trophies, and essentially having great fun with it. I've already started it because it was on my backlog, so I had a few trophies out of the way, but we started over again to do the co-op playthrough, which is why I've only got the one trophy showing at the moment. But we're going to be playing it for the next couple of weeks to try and get that platinum, and when we do, I'll show some gameplay footage and give you my thoughts on the game. Then after that, it was back to Batman Telltale series, and as you can see, I got the platinum on that, and I'm now at 304 platinums, and my trophy completion percentage is up to 83.51%. Having a nice relaxing day down at the coast with the family today. But while I'm here, I might as well check out what the local CX has got in. Let's go take a look now. So just approaching the CEX now, and I did spot in the window this Dishonored 2 Collector's Edition, which looked pretty nice. Can't really see it properly because of the reflection, but it's not something that I would pick up. But overall, this CEX I didn't find very much at all. Very little in terms of retro. Wasn't even worth showing what they had in the glass. But essentially, just looking at the PlayStation stuff, it was just all very much generic stuff, and nothing really stand out. So didn't really have much choice for what I was looking for. Did get one pickup though, which I'll share with you in a minute. But overall, quite a disappointing CEX for me. If you watched last week's vlog, you'll know that I recently picked up Terminator 3 The Redemption on PlayStation 2, and that I already owned Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines on PlayStation 2 as well. But there is a third game on the PlayStation 2 for the Terminator series, and this week at CEX I managed to source that one. So Terminator Dawn of Fate for only £2.50, so that's a bargain, and let's take a look at some gameplay. This 2002 game serves as a prequel to the original Terminator film from 1984 and is set during the post-apocalyptic war between humans and Skynet. You play as three different members of the Resistance that is led by John Connor, with Kyle Reese being one of the playable characters. The gameplay is a third-person shooter and has 10 levels comprising of various mission objectives as you follow John Connor's orders and launch an attack on Skynet's central database in an effort to take down Skynet and win the war. However, in keeping with the original film, before victory is secured, Skynet is able to send a Terminator back in time with the mission to take out John's mother, Sarah Connor, with the game finale seeing Kyle Reese also being sent back in time as Sarah's protector, setting up the original film story. The game looks fun, although I expect, as with a lot of the early PS2 games, the controls are likely to be a little bit janky with awkward camera angles, but I'm a big fan of the film franchise, and like the other two games, I look forward to giving this one a play at some point. Another pickup I had this week, well, technically it was a delivery, is something that I pre-ordered many months ago using vouchers I got for my birthday from family members, and that is the limited edition Neo Geo Super Pocket. So what is a Super Pocket, I hear you ask? Well, essentially it's a handheld retro gaming device, and you all know how much I love my retro gaming. So there's 6 different Super Pockets that you can get. Each one has got a different set of pre-installed games for a specific game developer. So you have Taito, Capcom, Data East, Technos, Atari, and of course Neo Geo. They're all very affordable and are widely available in their standard format. However, 4 of the Super Pockets come in a limited edition form. As you can see on screen, I own all 4 of them. That's the Atari, Capcom, Taito, and of course this new Neo Geo, and I think they all look fantastic on the shelf. But the other advantage of Super Pockets is not only the great screen quality, the fantastic sound, the portability and ease of taking them on holiday and things like that, is they also have a cartridge slot on the back, and every single Super Pocket accepts the entire Evercade library of retro games. So it's a great and affordable way to get into the handheld retro gaming scene. One last pickup I made this week was on the PSN store. Now, this was using my Stars rewards vouchers, and as the Stars program is coming to an end, I think it's a case of use your Stars or lose them. So I decided to cash them in for a PSN voucher, and I picked up John Wick Hex. Now, the reason I picked up this game is it's a game I've always wanted to play, and I'd never got around to picking it up. And it's now been delisted from the PSN store. I think I managed to grab it the day before it got delisted. And it's the same as most movie tie-in games. They eventually have their licenses run out and essentially get delisted off the PlayStation store. However, there is a physical version available, but when I checked the stocks in CEX, there was none listed as in stock. So it's not a very common game, and you know that once it gets delisted off the digital store, the price of the physical version is going to go skyrocketing, especially initially. So I wanted to get a copy of the game to play without having to sort of source a second-hand copy that's probably going to be at inflated prices from now on. This week's community questions come from The Dog Playing, with the first question being, what are your thoughts on microtransactions, especially the ones where you can buy XP etc. to fast track leveling up? So my thoughts on microtransactions in general is very much a case of, is it a solo experience or a multiplayer experience? For multiplayer, I'm fine with anything that's cosmetic, that doesn't affect anyone else. People can spend their money on how they look in the game. I've got no problem with that. It's not something I would spend money on, but I've got no problem with other people doing it. I do draw a line and say that I do not agree with any sort of form of pay to win. So any microtransaction that gives any advantage to anyone in the game over someone else, that's a big no from me. When it comes to solo games though, then it's really up to the person. I've got no problem with any sort of microtransaction for a solo game. At the end of the day, it's not affecting me if someone is paying to platinum a game faster. So if you've got to, say for example, get to level 100 and you've got to earn 1,000,000 XP to get there, then if they're going to pay to do it twice as fast or even 3 or 4 times as fast, that's up to them. Yes, they get the platinum quicker, but they've had to pay to do that. But it doesn't affect me. It's not going to do anything to my account. It's not going to affect me in any way. So it's up to them if they want to spend money on doing that. It's not something I choose to do personally, but I don't see any real difference between that and shovelware games. So if you're gonna, play to get XP 5 times quicker than someone else, so you get the platinum really quick, what's the difference in that and paying £1 to get a game that gives you the platinum for pressing X in 10 seconds? To me, they're essentially the same thing. So I would say that, anything that you buy microtransaction wise where it's just going to get you a platinum quicker, whether that's leveling up quicker or not, is exactly the same as people that just want to buy a platinum straight off, by playing a shovelware game. It's not something I choose to do and not something I'm going to spend my money on, but I've got no problem with other people doing that. In an ideal world, shovelware and things like that wouldn't exist, but they do, and they're there to stay. Sony make too much money off of it, and at the end of the day, it's my choice not to do them, and I don't care what anyone else does. When it comes to their trophy account, they can do what they like, and that's the same for microtransactions that mean that they might get a platinum quicker. I'd rather just play the game the way it's intended, and if that's a longer slog to get the platinum, then I'm prepared to do that. I've been, playing games for a long time, and, I'm well used to having to grind out ones. I'm well used to putting them aside, coming back to them if I was getting a bit bored, and becoming a bit fresh on it, and also, walking away from something. So if something is, I'm not enjoying it at all, and, I just don't enjoy the experience, then you don't have to get the platinum. You could just walk away and leave it. I wouldn't pay money to essentially try and get the platinum. I'd rather just not get the platinum than spend extra money on trying to get it. So I hope that answers your question. The second question is, what platinum trophy are you most proud of? So the answer to this is very simple, and people that are regulars of the channel will know straight off that it's Elite Dangerous, because I've said it many times on the channel that that's my most proud and favourite platinum. And the reason is that not only because it's the nostalgia of the original game from the 80s, but also it's the rarest platinum I've got at 0.28%, and the rarest 100% I've got at 0.15%, and I was also the 29th achiever of the 100%, and I'm very proud to have that as my top game. But I don't want to just leave it there, because obviously that's something that probably doesn't surprise a lot of people. So I'm going to answer with, if I hadn't got Elite Dangerous, what would be my number one and most proud platinum? And it's going to be one of two games, and the first one being Call of Duty World at War. And the reason that that is vying for the top spot as my most proud platinum is simple. It was my first platinum. It's what put me on this trophy hunting journey that I've been on for the last 16 plus years. And it's such a great game. It's challenging. I wasn't particularly good at first person shooters back when I got the platinum, so it was a bigger challenge for me than it might be trying to do it now. So I was really proud to get what I felt was a quite difficult trophy, or difficult platinum, very early on, and I was very proud, and still am proud, to have that in my trophy cabinet. The other one that's vying for that top spot for almost similar reasons is Alien vs Predator. And back on the day when that came out on the PS3, I was so excited for it, really looking forward to it. And the solo campaigns, if you don't know, there's 3 different ones. There's a Predator campaign, an Alien campaign, and a Marine campaign. And they're all difficult, but the Marines is particularly difficult compared to the other 2. But they're very enjoyable, and they're very doable with a bit of patience. And I was very proud to get those done. What made it even more proud though is that I persevered with the really badly broken multiplayer back when it first came out, and even today the multiplayer is broken, but I think people now sort of set up boosting sessions for it. Now, you didn't really have boosting sessions back then, so I had to sort of grind my sort of teeth and get through it, and I was proud to put the perseverance in to get the platinum back in the day when it very first came out, despite the fact that the multiplayer was really badly broken in terms of matchmaking and trying to even get into games. When you got into a game, it was actually quite good fun, but the amount of time you'd spend waiting for games compared to the amount of time you were in games was unbelievably frustrating. So both of those would be vying for my proudest platinum ever if I didn't have Elite Dangerous. So I hope that answers your question. So that's it for another week's vlog. As always, I'd like to take this opportunity to say a very big thank you to the gaming legends you can currently see on screen, who are my Patreon supporters. If you're interested in joining the Discord community, then please follow the link in the description for Patreon. For less than a cup of coffee every month, you can get involved with the community. A like and subscribe is always greatly appreciated and really does help to grow the channel. And as always, I love reading all of your comments and reply to every single one. So let me know what games you're playing, what platinums you've been earning, and maybe what games you've picked up for your collection. With all that being said, enjoy your games, take care, and look after yourselves.